The most dangerous man in boxing and the most powerful mobster in America sat face to face in an empty gym at midnight. What was Mike Tyson, the youngest heavyweight champion in history, doing challenging John Gotti to a private meeting? Why did Iron Mike believe his devastating punching power could intimidate the Teflon Don? How did a business disagreement over a nightclub turn into the most legendary confrontation between physical force and organized power? This is the story of when unstoppable meets immovable, and what happened when two of New York's deadliest men found unexpected common ground. It started 3 weeks earlier when Mike Tyson was living like a young god of destruction. At 22, he'd demolished every heavyweight challenger with terrifying efficiency, earning millions per fight, and building a reputation as boxing's most feared warrior since Sonny Liston. But Tyson's explosive wealth had attracted the wrong kind of attention from the wrong kind of people. The trouble centered around Club Palladium in Manhattan, where Tyson spent most nights surrounded by celebrities, beautiful women, and hangers-on who fed his ego while emptying his bank accounts. The club was partly owned by Tommy Greco, a small-time operator who'd been skimming money from various investors, including some very dangerous ones connected to the Gambino crime family. "Mike, you need to know what's happening with your investment," Tyson's manager Jim Jacobs warned him during a training session at Gleason's gym in Brooklyn. "The club's in trouble. Big trouble." Tyson stopped hitting the heavy bag and turned to face Jacobs, sweat dripping from his muscled frame. At 5'10" and 220 pounds of pure explosive power, even at rest he radiated violence that made grown men nervous. "What kind of trouble?" "Tommy Greco's been stealing from investors. Some of those investors have connections to John Gotti. They want their money back, and they think you're involved." Tyson's eyes flashed with the rage that had destroyed 31 professional opponents. Nobody accuses Mike Tyson of stealing. Nobody. "Mike, these aren't boxing opponents. These are, I don't care who they are," Tyson interrupted, his voice dropping to the dangerous whisper that preceded his most devastating knockouts. "If John Gotti wants to talk to me, he can come talk to me man to man." That's how the message reached John Gotti 3 days later. The Teflon Don was holding court at the Ravenite Social Club when one of his associates brought news that the heavyweight champion wanted a face-to-face meeting about the Palladium situation. "The kid wants to meet?" Gotti asked, amused by Tyson's boldness. At 48, Gotti had survived 3 decades in organized crime by understanding that different situations required different approaches. "Set it up. I'm curious to meet the youngest heavyweight champion in history." On September 14, 1988, at 10:30 p.m., Mike Tyson walked into Gleason's gym alone. The legendary Brooklyn boxing facility was empty except for 2 men waiting in the ring area, John Gotti and his underboss Sammy Gravano. Tyson moved through the gym with the predatory grace that had terrified the boxing world. His massive shoulders rolled with each step, and his neck, thick as a tree trunk, seemed to support a head that could generate knockout power from impossible angles. John Gotti watched the approach with genuine interest. He'd seen Tyson fight on television, had witnessed the devastating combinations that ended fights in seconds. But television couldn't capture the aura of violence that surrounded the young champion like a force field. "Gotti," Tyson said, his voice respectful but carrying an undertone of barely controlled aggression. "Thank you for meeting me." Mike Tyson, Gotti extended his hand with the confidence of a man who'd faced down killers and federal prosecutors. "The pleasure's mine. I've been watching your fights." "Impressive." They shook hands, Tyson's massive fist engulfing Gotti's smaller hand, but the mob boss's grip firm and unintimidated by the physical disparity. "Let's talk about this club situation," Gotti said, gesturing toward the ring. "Man to man, like you requested." They climbed through the ropes into the squared circle where Tyson had honed the skills that made him the most feared fighter on earth. Under the harsh gym lights, the contrast between them was striking. Tyson's muscular frame coiled with explosive power, Gotti's smaller stature radiating the quiet authority of absolute leadership. "I put money into that club clean," Tyson said, his voice rising slightly. "I didn't steal nothing from nobody. And I don't appreciate people saying I did." Gotti studied the young champion's face, recognizing something familiar in Tyson's eyes, the same controlled violence that had helped Gotti survive decades in the most dangerous business in America. "Mike, let me explain something to you about the club situation. Tommy Greco was stealing from investors. Not just our investors, all investors, including you. Nobody's accusing you of being involved in the theft. Then what's the problem? The problem is that some of our money disappeared, and we need to know where it went. You're the biggest name connected to the club, so people are asking questions." Tyson's jaw muscles tensed, a sign that anyone who'd studied his fights would recognize as dangerous. "You want your money back? Talk to Greco. Leave me out of it." "It's not that simple, Mike. Greco's disappeared, took whatever money was left and vanished. That leaves us with a problem that needs to be solved." The tension in the ring was palpable as two completely different types of power faced each other. Tyson's physical dominance versus Gotti's organizational authority. "What do you want from me?" Tyson asked. "I want to know if you know where Greco went. And I want to discuss how we're going to recover the money that was stolen from legitimate investors. And if I don't know, if I can't help you find Greco or your money." Gotti smiled, but his eyes remained calculating. "Then we have a conversation about how men of respect handle these kinds of situations." For 30 seconds, they stared at each other across the boxing ring. Mike Tyson, who could end fights with single punches, and John Gotti, who could end lives with single phone calls. Finally, Tyson spoke. "Mr. Gotti, I respect what you are. I respect your position. But I need you to understand something too. I'm listening. I'm not some street punk you can intimidate. I'm not scared of anybody or anything. I've made millions with these hands, and I'll make millions more. If you want to threaten me, go ahead. But understand that I don't back down from anybody." Instead of anger, Gotti felt something unexpected: respect for the young fighter's courage. Most people who found themselves in Tyson's position would be stammering apologies or begging for mercy. But Tyson was standing his ground with the same fearless aggression that had made him champion. "Mike, let me tell you something," Gotti said, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades in organized crime. "I'm not trying to threaten you. I'm trying to understand who you are as a man." "What do you mean?" "I mean that being the heavyweight champion makes you dangerous in the ring. But we're not in the ring now. We're in the real world where different rules apply." Tyson's expression hardened, but Gotti continued before he could respond. "However, I also see that you're not just some dumb fighter. You came here alone to face me, which shows you've got heart. You spoke to me with respect, which shows you understand honor. And you're willing to stand up for yourself, which I admire." The mood in the ring began to shift as both men recognized something in the other that commanded respect. "Here's what I think happened," Gotti continued. "You invested clean money in a club run by a thief. You got swindled just like everyone else. The difference is, you're Mike Tyson, so when people look for someone to blame, your name comes up. That's exactly what happened. Then here's how we're going to handle this. You're going to give me whatever information you have about Greco's business. Financial records, contacts, anything that might help us track down what happened to the money. And if I do that, then as far as the Gambino family is concerned, Mike Tyson had nothing to do with the thefts at Club Palladium. You were a victim, just like us. Tyson considered the proposal. What happens to Greco if you find him? Gotti's smile turned cold. That's not your concern, champ. For another long moment, they studied each other. Then Mike Tyson nodded. I'll get you whatever records I have. Financial stuff, contracts, phone numbers, whatever might help. Good. That's the smart play. They shook hands again, but this time it felt different, like two professionals who'd found a way to resolve a problem without violence. Can I ask you something, Mr. Gotti? Tyson said as they climbed out of the ring. Go ahead. Would you really have tried to hurt me if I hadn't cooperated? Gotti paused near the gym entrance, considering his answer carefully. Mike, in my world, when someone costs us money and won't help us get it back, there are consequences. But you came here tonight, showing respect and willing to help solve the problem. That means you understand how men of honor conduct business. And if I had been involved in the stealing, then we wouldn't be shaking hands right now. 3 weeks later, using the information Tyson had provided, the Gambino family tracked down Tommy Greco in Miami. They recovered most of the stolen money and made sure Greco understood the consequences of stealing from dangerous people. Mike Tyson was officially cleared of any involvement in the club scandal. More importantly, he'd earned the respect of John Gotti and the Gambino organization, protection that would prove valuable during his later legal troubles. The meeting between Mike Tyson and John Gotti lasted only 40 minutes, but it became boxing legend. Two of New York's most dangerous men had faced each other with mutual respect, resolving a potentially deadly situation through dialogue rather than violence. Years later, after Tyson's conviction and imprisonment, John Gotti would tell associates that the young champion had reminded him of himself at that age, dangerous, fearless, but smart enough to understand that real power came from respect rather than just physical strength. The kid had heart, Gotti said. He came to face me alone, knowing I could have him killed, but also knowing he wouldn't back down from a fight. That's the kind of courage you don't see very often. For Mike Tyson, the meeting with John Gotti taught him something crucial about power and respect that no boxing trainer could have explained. Sometimes the most dangerous confrontation is the one where nobody throws a punch, because that's when minds and reputations are really tested. The heavyweight champion and the mob boss never met again, but their midnight encounter in an empty Brooklyn gym proved that even the most violent men could find common ground when they recognized honor in each other. September 14th, 1988. The night Iron Mike met the Teflon Don and learned that respect wasn't something you could win with your fists, it was something you earned through character.